All right, we're going to continue with our media availabilities here at Dover in advance of Sunday's Dry Dean 400 with the Monster Energy Series. We are joined by Jimmie Johnson, driver of the number 48 Ally Chevrolet, who is the all-time winningest driver here at Dover with 11 wins on the concrete. We will open up to questions. Please raise your hand and we'll get a wireless microphone to you. Go in the back to Dan and then to Bob.
Dan Gelson, the Associated Press. Jimmie, we saw the announcement today with your sponsor. Hey, I'll just move over here. How's it going? And it said you would announce your future at a later date. Since we're at a later date from this morning, what's do you think you'll make it through 2023 or with Ally, or have you have any kind of date on how much longer you want to do this?
Yeah, I haven't made any decisions at this point. I'm very, very excited that Ally has signed this extension with Hendrick. I think it speaks to the strength of our sport, strength of the relationship with Hendrick Motorsports. I know everybody would like me to be in the car to 2023 and even past that, but I just haven't made that decision yet. So I certainly didn't want to stand in the way of this great news coming out either. And as this came down the pipeline, I knew I would be in a position to answer a lot of questions that would come with it. But I just felt like it was such great news. I supported Hendrick in getting this news out right away, and Ally as well, that it's just great for our sport and industry. And I don't have anything to say at this time, and I'm going to take every day that I can get from Mr. Hendrick before I have to make my decision.
We're going to go to Bob in the front and then Dustin and Tim.
Bob Pockris, Fox Sports. Does having a sponsor already signed change the timeline for you having to make a decision? Obviously, if there wasn't one, those things can either get stretched out for potentially a little longer.
Yeah, I guess I haven't thought about it on that side. I felt like the relationship's gone very well, and I sensed that it would extend all along. But if we didn't have a sponsor, there could have been pressure from that side, but I never felt it, and it certainly didn't get to that spot.
Could you update us on any sort of timetable you have, or like when you would like to have a decision, or when will Rick be knocking down your door?
I don't have a timeline. I personally know that I would like every day that I can before I need to make that decision. There's a lot of things to look at with the Gen 7 car coming. The way our team's performing and what we're building, I might want to go longer than 2023. I just don't know, and I have not put much time and effort into it. There have been many other things to deal with and look at. These things in the past, a contract renewal would usually start in the spring of the year the contract would end. So based on past experience, I would say that probably spring next year is when I would really get pressure to make a decision if I was going to return in 2021. So I don't have any good news for you, Bob. I know you'd love to have that firm timeline, but I just don't right now.
We're going to go to Dustin Long and then Tim.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Jimmie, you talked after Vegas that the experience of being a non-playoff driver and kind of you felt like there were a couple cases maybe where you had kind of gotten used up and said, hey, I've got to do a better job of not getting in that situation. How have you done the other two races, and what do you have to do to, in one sense, not be used up by playoff drivers now?
Yeah, I think we all know and understand that you're going to race others how they race you. And I think some people take it to higher extremes than personally what I do, but I'm just implementing that in something I've done all along. Somebody gives me a hard time in a couple different ways that I don't appreciate. I let one slide. 2, I usually say something. 3, you really start playing the game back, and that's just the way that I was kind of raised and taught. And I can remember Ron Hornaday back in the day when that would happen. He'd literally show you a 1. There's your first. And then 2, and you'd never wanted to see 3 because it was usually didn't end well. So we all handle it differently, and certainly the sport has changed a lot since I first came in and the way the racing takes place. So I've had to grow with the environment on track as well, and then also defend what I need to defend out there.
Go to Tim.
Tim Ketterfam with WRC Sports. Jimmie, maybe this is a little early to discuss, and I know that you had mentioned in one of the other questions or one of the other answers that you've given. Have you had any discussions, or has NASCAR come to you at all to discuss this next generation or Generation 7 car at all at this point?
So yes, they've brought it up in driver council meetings. I'm on a rules committee meeting where I try to stay up to date on that as well. So yeah, there's there is some dialogue taking place, certainly a lot of dialogue taking place between OEMs and owners. At the driver level, some guys are more involved than others.
Going to come up front to Rich.
Rich Colbert, Motor Racing Network. Looking next week to Talladega, everyone has their strategy when they run that race. What is the strategy for the 48 team?
That's the one race that you're actually excited to be a non-playoff driver. So I'll go and do my best, try to get a trophy, and certainly try to help my teammates if and when I can. That's one of the few tracks that you can. They're in Daytona, and Daytona's probably on the not list where you just can't help your teammates there. So do what I can and try to get this Ally Chevy to victory lane.
50th anniversary for Talladega as well. What does that track mean to you?
I think the history of the track and the fan base and the fact that that's kind of the roots of our sport. Wander out through the infield and see all the wildness, craziness in action is always fun. So for me, that race, two times a year we race there, it's about the atmosphere and the party and almost a festival of sorts. So the racing, you try to take it as serious as you can, just through my experience and being able to create my own luck maybe 2 or 3% of the time, and then be at the mercy of everybody else's luck 98 to 97% of the time. You just kind of put it in a different spot in your head and deal with it. So just kind of a couple fun days hanging out in Talladega until it's race day, and then you hope you're in that 2 or 3% that makes it through.
Do we have any additional questions for Jimmie? Go to Dan.
Jimmie, does coming to a track like Dover affect your confidence, or does just the fact how the car is running play into it more than anything else?
Yeah, car performance, there's a few things that kind of drive that. One, how's it been going lately? 2, how were you the last time you were here? So those elements play into it. This year's a little different when you have a 550 rules package to 750. So, I find that whatever the opinion is, good or bad, it helps you Monday to when the clock starts running and in practice. And once you're on track again, you're in the present and the now, and you really deal with those issues on hand. So I think an opinion or past experience at a track or past history really gets you through the week leading up to it, but it doesn't really change much once you get to the track and get to work.
Go back to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. What do you feel like you guys have done right or building upon the last few weeks, and what more needs to be done with this group?
I think across the Chevy camps, I think we're seeing more speed in general. When I look at HMS specifically, more speed and more competitiveness. I think that we still have some areas to catch up in. Those would be the 550 horsepower tracks with less downforce. It seems like when we need max downforce, we're in a good spot if it's a road course and really 750 or 550 package. So, I think that's somewhere that we're working hard to get better, especially as we know this 550 package is going to stick around. And then inside of the walls of the 48, it's really just about executing. We have so many positive things going on inside, building new cars, new aero balances on cars, refining setups that have been kind of our bread and butter, and seeing evidence that that's proving and working out well. So really it's about execution, and that's where my mindset is to try not to overthink it. Don't put too much pressure on myself or on the team. We know what we're capable of. Let's just take a deep breath and get out there and get to work.
Going to come up here to the front.
Hey, Jimmie, Matt Pensick, WRDE TV. When Chase was in here, one of the things he attributed to his recent success was having you as a teammate. Do you have those conversations with your other teammates about what to do here to help the overall team have wins and top 10 finishes and stuff like that?
I'm there for my teammates as much as they need me. I feel that with my history inside of the company, I have really good, deep conversations with drivers, but then further than that with crew chiefs and engineering department, people in key areas. And I've always been able to articulate what I need or what I feel inside the car. And I think I've seen, especially last few weeks, I've seen areas where I am describing something, and I see a light bulb go off with a teammate in their mind, and they get their crew chief's attention in one of our debriefs, and that's exactly what I'm dealing with, or what they're looking for. So sometimes directly, oftentimes indirectly, and I even lived that myself, studying Jeff Gordon as closely as I did. I would thank him for helping me, and he didn't know what he did, and he was just being him, and his knowledge and experience was just so evident that I would pull stuff out of that. So since I've experienced it, I try to maybe talk a bit more and open up conversation in different areas just to help my 3 teammates that are in the playoffs.
Anything else for Jimmie? All right, Jimmie, thanks for joining us. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.